Hi, I'm Beth from My Tutoring Bee, and in today's video we're going to be talking about converting decimals and fractions. I have a few examples. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, whenever we are starting off with decimals and we are being asked to convert them into fractions, just keep in mind that the number of decimal places equals the number of zeros. Let me show you what I mean by that. We've got one digit after the decimal point in this decimal number. So when we are creating the fraction, what I'm going to have in the denominator is either it's going to be 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on. So because this just has one digit after the decimal point, I'm going to have 1 0 in that number in the denominator. So that's what I mean with this tip right here. And then for the numerator, we simply have a 7. We don't want to write that 0 because 7 is not how we normally write single digit numbers. So we're just going to put 7/10 here, and that's our fraction. Here we have 2 digits after the decimal point. So that means we are going to have a 100 in the denominator. And then again, we're just going to write in a 25 for the numerator. And then for this fraction, we do want to reduce that whenever possible. So both of these can be divided by 25 evenly. So that's going to give us 1/4. All right, it even works if we have a number other than 0 in the ones place or any of the whole number places. So let's go ahead. We still have just one digit after the decimal point. So that means we're going to have a 10 in the denominator, but because we do have a 1 and an 8, we have a 1 in that ones place, we're going to write this as 18. So that just means that we have an improper fraction, which we could change into a mixed number as well. It makes sense that our fraction is more than one whole because our decimal is more than one whole. So let's go ahead and reduce this first. So 18 and 10 can both be divided by 2. That gives us 9/5. So we could leave it as that and leave it as an improper fraction. However, we could also change it to a mixed number. 5 can go into 9 one time with 4 left over. So that would be our mixed number, 1 4/5. All right, in this decimal, we have 2 digits after the decimal point. So that means we're going to have a 100 in the denominator. And we have a 4 with 2 zeros in front of it. Again, we don't usually write numbers like this with 0, 0, 4. Any zeros in front of the whole numbers, we can simply eliminate and we can just write this as 4. Again, we want to simplify this. Both of these are divisible by 4. So that gives us 1/25 as our simplified answer. Now let's convert some fractions to decimals. So the same rules apply. If your denominator is a 10, a 100, 1000, 10,000, etc., anything with a 1 with zeros after it, then we simply can count the number of zeros, and then we know that we need one digit after the decimal point. And whatever that numerator is going to go all the way to the right. And if we have any empty spaces, we're going to fill those in with 0. So this becomes 0.7 or 7/10, which coincidentally is how we read both the fraction and the decimal, 7/10, 7/10. All right, here we've got 100 in the denominator. So that means here's our whole number, here's our decimal, and we're going to have 2 digits after the decimal point. Now the 4 is a single digit, but it's going to go all the way over here to the right. And then we're going to fill in those other spots with zeros. So we get 0.04. In these next two fractions, they don't have denominators with 10 or 100 or 1000, but we can make equivalent fractions that do have denominators of 10 or 100 or 1000. If we take a look at this denominator here of 5, we can multiply that times 2 to get to 10. So as long as we multiply the numerator by the same number, then that's going to give us an equivalent fraction. And now it's really easy to see that we just need one place value after the decimal, and that 6 is going to go right there in that tenths spot. And then we fill in this with a 0, so we get 0.6. All right, with 20 as the denominator in this fraction, again, we can figure out what can we multiply by to get us. We're not going to be able to get to 10 with this one, but we can get to 100. So let's go to 100. That's going to be times 5. So we need to multiply 31 times 5. Let's see what that is real quick. 5 times 1 is 5. 5 times 3 is 15. So we get 155. All right, so now we know that we have decimal and we have 2 place values after the decimal point. Now notice that our number in the numerator is a 3-digit number. So we're going to start all the way to the right with that 5 and then work our way backwards. And so now we see that we get 1.55 or 1 55 hundredths. In these two problems, it's not quite as easy to use those last tips that I was telling you about creating an equivalent fraction, because with 15 in our denominator for this first problem, there's nothing that we can multiply times this 15 that gives us 10 or 100 or 1000. But what we can do is reduce this fraction by dividing both numerator and denominator by 3. That gives us 1/5. And now we can multiply this by 2. This is a little bit of a sneakier way. This is sometimes a little bit trickier to see, but if you can reduce your fraction initially down to a number that is a factor of 10 or 100 or 1000, then you can use that. So now we have 2 over 10. We've got 1 place value after the decimal. So that tells us that we got 0.2 for this decimal. With 2/3, we are going to use division. Long division will always work in order to get you from a fraction to a decimal. You just have to remember that the top number goes inside the bracket and the bottom number, the denominator, goes outside the bracket. One of my students showed me this trick about the cowboy and the horse. So if you look at a fraction as if the 2 is the cowboy riding on top of the horse, the 3, and then think of the division bracket. Let me write it over here. The division bracket as the saloon. The cowboy can go inside the saloon, but the horse has to stay outside. So just a cute way of remembering which numbers go where when you're dividing. All right, 3 cannot go into 2, so we're going to put a 0 there. Go ahead and drop in our decimal and a 0. 3 can go into 26 times. That's 18. We wind up with 2, and so we can see right here that if I drop down another 0 here, again 3 is going to go into 26 times, so it's just going to be a repeating decimal. And that's what we get for this one. We get 0.6 repeating. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that this video is helpful for you in learning how to convert decimals and fractions. If you like this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, give me a comment down below. In the description, I have a link to my pre-algebra series. This video is part of that series, along with a lot of other videos that go over all of the different skills that you would see in a pre-algebra class. So check that out if you feel like that would be helpful for you, and I'll see you next time.